Andrei, your biography is incredibly rich. You danced in the most prestigious theaters in the world. You worked with outstanding choreographers. Could you please tell us about the most decisive turning moments in your dance biography?
Tatiana, what can I say? I'd like to point from the start that I'm a fortunate person and I had a really good luck in life. All main events in my life I linked to ballet. The first lucky turn in my life happened when I was admitted to the Moscow Academy of Choreography, the school of Bolshoi. If it didn't happen by my own will but by a chance, which I consider a lucky chance, I'm grateful that it happened. Then, during my studies in the academy, I fully fell in love with classical dance. My next lucky ticket in life was to be invited to dance with the Bolshoi theater after the graduation.
Aha, the Bolshoi invited you to dance immediately after the graduation from the school?
Yes, after the graduation.
It is indeed a lucky chance to get a company like the Bolshoi right after the graduation, isn't it?
Yes, of course, there was a harsh competition there, but I repeat myself, I had a luck and was accepted to the Bolshoi. After that, the next turn in my career happened in the West, when I had to leave Russia.
So, how many years did you work in the Bolshoi theater?
I worked 8 or 9 years, including the last year of the school. I left Russia and the Bolshoi for the family reason, not because of something else. Then, in the West, my career sprung because I had met Rudolf Nureyev.
Oh, you see, that's so casually met up with Rudolf Nureyev. Did it happen, by the way, here in Rome?
Yes, in Rome, under the strange or maybe auspicious circumstances. Of course, Nureyev's support helped greatly to build my artistic career in the West. And the third lucky turn happened when Pierre Lecourt invited me to work in the ballet of Nancy. So here are my 3 big moments in life: the Academy of Choreography, which is the school of the Bolshoi, and then the Bolshoi Theater, my work in La Scala, Milan, in Teatro di San Carlo in Napoli, and then tours around the world with Nureyev, and then my work in Nancy with Pierre Lecourt, where I worked for 10 years as principal dancer.
As their étoile, their star dancer in the company.
Yes, yes.
Wonderful! As you stressed, your meeting with Rudolf Nureyev was your lucky card, which opened completely new possibilities for your professional life. Could you please tell us what kind of ballet world Nureyev opened for you?
When I worked in the Bolshoi theater, we knew very little about Nureyev. We didn't see much of his work, and information about his choreography was not easily accessible for us. When I met him here in Rome, he opened for me in dance something larger than simply dance. It was something that I would name as a theatrical reality. He didn't just dance on stage as other talented dancers, he lived it. This difference between Rudolf and other dancers was striking. When I studied in the school of the Bolshoi theater, I had remarkable, excellent teachers. I think that our school prepares students for many unexpected transformations. It was more than just a school for learning classical dance. We have our tradition, our foundation.
You took classes of Alexander Alexandrovich Prokofiev, correct?
Yes, I studied with San Sanich Prokofiev, then with Leonid Zhdanov, Ulanova's partner, also with Evgeny Pavlovich Polyakov in the beginning. Pyotr Antonich Pestov trained me occasionally as well. Then, in the Bolshoi theater, I worked in the class of Asaf Mikhailovich Messerer, the class of the Bolshoi stars. One could see them before your eyes in the class, and this experience teaches you a lot as well. But what I saw after I met Rudolf and what I acquired while working with him and on his choreography and staging transformed me. And practically speaking, Rudolf changed me as a dancer compared to who I was in the Bolshoi.
So, did Rudolf select you for his own repertoire? Which is to say, he cast you in his own ballet?
My first production with Rudolf was Swan Lake in La Scala. Rudolf danced the central role himself. It was a double burden. I watched him dance it and understood what he wanted. To be the second cast after Rudolf, I had to work enormously. He worked with me non-stop during the production, days and nights. But then, I repeat, I was allowed to stay next to him. It was great.
Andrei, was it difficult to dance Nureev's choreography? How did he rehearse his own works with other dancers, including you?
Rudolf was very demanding, extremely demanding in respect to the technical sides, but also in respect to interpretation. He had his own exigent views on movements, forms, and musicality. I know that many dancers at the moment would have liked to take my place, but they were not lucky enough.
The fact that Nureev accepted you meant that he had particular views on the rapport between a dancer and a choreographic work. Could you please tell us, how did this precise selection of dancers for his choreography changed or influenced the reception of his ballets by the public?
The role of a dancer in choreography is crucial. Rudolf choreographed for himself. Without his unlimited technical abilities and his range emotions, his ballets often lose their particular power.
Okay, could we say that Nureev put the bar too high for himself and others, but at the same time, as the artist and as a choreographer, he wanted his ballets to be performed and his ideas to continue. So naturally, he needed new resources, new dancers, capable to carry the torch, as I understand.
Of course, he felt that his days were numbered, but his ballets were staged around the world and he ardently looked for dancers. But choices of dancers he trusted his choreography were limited back then.
His choreographic texts are incredibly complex. Did he look for emotional intensity and concentration and a certain ease with technique in his dancers?
There are many dancers who can perform even more complex choreography impeccably. But if you talk about a shallow dancer who has not enough power to fill in this choreography, the meaning gets lost, even if one has the impeccable technique. So I think that Rudolf sought in dancers a certain artistic gift for endowing his works with emotional depth. He had, for example, Charles Jude, who appeared on stage and it was already an event, because he had depth in any movements. He, Jude, was technical, handsome, well-proportioned, dynamic.
As I understand now, Rudolf was a true artist who demanded much from himself and others. He demanded a certain artistic fulfillment.
Rudolf was a genius of dance, and it was a hard task to approximate his height. I don't think that a dancer of his scope will appear on stage soon. His contribution to the art of ballet was so considerable that we have to protect and finesse his heritage. I might repeat myself, but let me tell you that there are many dancers now who perform in his ballets, but I suspect, if I may, that he would not allow many of current interpreters of his ballets to dance them if he were alive.
Thank you, Andrei. This is a very subtle but important remark. I thank you deeply for sharing it with us. Andrei, your ballet career developed at the intersection of several ballet traditions. Russian, French, Danish, Italian, to mention just a few of them. It seems that every time when you had to learn a new school, it became you. You adapted to every new school's challenge with ease and sincerity, and your dance began to speak these traditions. What is your secret?
Perhaps, Tatiana, there is no secret. It depends on your personality. You simply have to search inside yourself. You have to pose questions to yourself. Why do you need this school or this style? And how could you apply the school to your own dancing? And what is the beauty of it? And the speciality of the school?
Beauty and originality are big and potent categories.
And because of them, you have to inhabit a new school to make it yours. It doesn't mean that you reject what you've done before, but you have to find some positive elements. I have discovered, for example, the Danish school when Kirsten Ralov came to the Bolshoi to stage the evening of Bournonville. It was about 1995 or 96. For myself, I discovered this great, enormous school, which had an incredible beauty. In the Bolshoi theater, we didn't have this repertoire. We danced mostly ballets by Yuri Nikolaevich Grigorovich, in which this kind of technique didn't exist. Batterie, feet, port de bras positions, all great nuances of small technique, which is no less important in dance.
And again, it's your luck. You've learned all that from first hands, from the purveyors of it.
Yes, I learned the Bournonville technique from primary sources, and later it was useful to have this kind of knowledge when I moved to the West. I worked with Pierre Lecote, who cared much about the Danish style. I came to Lecote's theater already speaking the language, so to speak, which was important for him. Take, for example, Lecote's Marco Spada or L'Ombre.
Marco Spada, by the way, is such an interesting ballet, and it was created for Rudolf Nureyev by Lecote. And then this role, together with a costume that was worn by Nureyev on stage, was passed to you. Was it your favorite role?
Yes, it was one of my favorite roles. I liked this ballet very much when Nureyev danced it. Other performers do not make justice to this ballet, in my view.
Andrei, nowadays, you work as a ballet master with many ballet companies in the world. In Milan with the ballet of the Teatro alla Scala, with the Teatro di San Carlo in Napoli. You were also invited to train the National Ballet of New Zealand, worked in Moscow with a new opera theater. What are your principles and methods of work as a ballet master? How difficult is this new role for you? And what is the significance of this position for dancers, choreographers, and not least the public?
My work is designed primarily for dancers. It consists of helping dancers to find a limit, a red line in their performance on stage, which they have to reach, but must never cross. Dancing should appear natural, beautiful and organic. Because now we have very young dancers. They come from different schools, while some of them lack professionalism but carry a great desire to work. At times, I should tell them not to do too much.
Well, talking about orientation points, when you started as a dancer in the school of the Bolshoi, you did not have that many examples to strive for, but these examples were remarkable. You started dancing on the stage of the Bolshoi when the great generation of Lavrovsky, Liepa, Vassiliev still danced. It was a high plank for the starter.
I think that for us, the pinnacle of our ballet came 25 years ago. And it was my luck to be there at that moment. I witnessed it. I was on stage with these fabulous dancers. Now I'm afraid it's a bit of inertia that leads us now. The performers change, but not always for the best. The task is to find a new language of choreography. For example, Rudolf made his choreography in a new language. All of his ballets are recognizable and could not be taken for someone else's. If we think about that period, the styles of Balanchine, Grigorovich and Petit always remain recognizable, and later we couldn't mistake Ishikilian or Matsek for anyone else. I accept such individual choreographic language wholeheartedly, but that's it for now. I see my task of a ballet master in maintaining the golden standards that I received myself. I want the dancers I worked with to remain true and to honor the standards which I knew and which we received from the past. I cannot rehearse with people who want me to be sitting on the bench in the studio just nominally and pretend that a dancer or dancers are doing everything right. It is a big responsibility because the public can also benefit from the exactitude of rehearsal to train their taste and their experience of seeing dance as well.
As you noticed, Andrei, we put the word star in the name of our company. And it is not only a title. We're truly committed to bringing to our public the real, the most bright stars of today's classical dance, and to show them in the exemplary choreographic works in which their individualities shine the best. That is to say that we curate the selection of our stars with care. And the title of a star carries a complex meaning, as you probably know from your own experience. So a question: do you recall a moment when you, yourself, I mean deeply inside yourself, realized that you are coming close or you already became a star?
No, this never happened to me. Probably I'm too critical to myself and to my work. And probably it was difficult for me to accept this interview. I cannot believe that in our art one could have a fixed point of achievement. You have to go forward every day and strive to improve every day. You reach your top when you are placed in a box. Ballet is a living art. There are no real traces of it. Only memory preserves it, the memory of people. Dance is ephemeral by its nature, but still, our task is to move the hearts of the current public. This is why it's a crucial task for us to move and to touch the public of today. The public reacts to a complex intersection of emotions which emerges on stage: dances, music, and the orchestra. And this reaction decides how the performance passes to other generations. Undoubtedly, this is why reaching the public is so important.
I remember the story which you told me once. It was your performance in London when you partnered the incomparable Lyudmila Semeniaka in La Sylphide by Bournonville. Your performance that evening stood out in the memory of Clement Crisp, a famous British dance critic for years. Your performance passed the highest standards of art.
Yes, but this was not an only case. Many remember a performance of Giselle in Paris with Monique Lourdier, a gorgeous, outstanding dancer.
Svetlana Lunkina, artistic director of All-Star Canada Ballet Gala and principal dancer of the Bolshoi Theatre and of the National Ballet of Canada, had a following question to you. With what feelings and repertoire did you return to Moscow to dance on the stage of the legendary Bolshoi Theatre, and what this return meant to you?
I returned to the Bolshoi Theatre with the Ballet National de Nancy. Before this tour, I had a serious injury. I had a knee surgery and I had to operate the ligaments. But there was this great opportunity, despite being not in perfect shape. I had only 3 months for recovery, but because I wanted so much to return to the Bolshoi, I worked as a madman. I didn't recover completely, but nonetheless, I danced La Sylphide in Pierre Lacotte's version, and The Return of the Prodigal Son by Balanchine to Prokofiev's music. I know that my colleagues and teachers waited for my return. It was impossible for me to miss the story. I worked on my legs intensely, and I took the risk. It was a big risk, but I had to come. There was no question in my mind that I had to return to the stage of the Bolshoi. And I did. It was still the old theater, before the reconstruction.
What was the reaction of the public?
I don't know exactly. It reacted as the public should.
The list of your achievements, the roles you danced, your awards, is as long as your arm. But I would like to remind about one particular award, one that was given to you by the French Republic, the French government. You are the Chevalier of the Arts of the French Republic. Did it happen, the award ceremony, in the Palais des Champs-Élysées?
Yes, it was a total surprise for me. A very emotional surprise. I was absolutely happy when it happened.
Was the award given to you by the President François Mitterrand?
No, actually it was his wife, Madame Mitterrand.
Did she give you a sword?
No, only in order this day.
When we started, you stated that you considered yourself as a lucky, fortunate person.
Yes, I know. If this lucky chain of circumstances did not happen, I do not know what I would have done in my life. I thank the Almighty sincerely for this fortune.